Okay, good morning, everybody. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. You are in for such a treat. Go, Shalyn. Um, Today, because the woman that you're going to be hearing from, I've known her every day of my Mary Kay career. So 28 and a half years. And I'm going to ask her some questions about her accolades so you can get to know her in just a few minutes. But we were just talking about last week's recording, and Belinda was giving me some things that she particularly liked. And so, Belinda, about last week's recording, what will you do differently going forward after having watched that video?
I need to do my daily 6 important things. And I like how you said how you divide it up. That was a good suggestion. Do my Mary Kay one, do my personal ones, and whatever, anybody else's. but just having it down. And I like the idea of doing it in the afternoon before, so that way you're settled, you're ready for the next day. And it's just really just a glance to recap and to go from there.
Well, and you know what's hilarious, Belinda, about that? You are so on the money. What is especially hilarious is when you're planning for the next day, you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof. And and then you get up the next morning and you look and you go, what was I thinking? But you follow through on it and you wake up and you've got a plan. You don't lose any time trying to think about, oh, what should I do? And then you have a cup of coffee or a Diet Dr. Pepper or whatever. And it's just so much more effective. And I find I sleep so much better because I have a very hard time turning my brain off because, I am usually just so excited about what's coming up and even sometimes excited about things I shouldn't be excited about. And I can't turn my brain off. But if I've planned out the day, oh my gosh, I just sleep like a baby. So thank you for that. I so appreciate that. Anybody else have got, and who is on a 334 number? 334-559-1106.
Hey, this is Melissa.
Good morning, Melissa. We're so glad to have you on, girl.
Good morning. I'm sleepy.
I know we're down at Kim and Dan's house. And guys, I just want to paint the picture for you. Kim is very much into yoga, and I am so into yoga, I know how to say the word. And so she invited me to go to this special, it's called Thai yoga class. And so we scheduled to be down here at their home the whole weekend, and which is what we do because we love to play this game called Shanghai Rummy. And so I have this rule that when I know it's going to be late, I quit looking at the clock because then my brain tells me I should be tired. And so I never looked at the clock last night, had my alarm set for what time I wanted to be up to be ready for y'all. And Kim this morning says, Jeannie, you're already cute. We only had 3 hours of sleep. And immediately I went, oh God, I'm so tired. But, when you know what your week is going to be because you've used your weekly plan sheet and you're going to be gone. And now we have a 12-person class this afternoon that we're doing. But you plan your week. And then when you plan your week, then from that plan, you plan your day, who you're going to call, things like that. And it just takes all the pressure off. And so, Belinda, I'm so glad that was such a blessing. And y'all remember, the most valuable real estate on the planet is these 6 inches. Absolutely, bar none. And you will hear people when they become a sales director, or they win their first Cadillac, or they win their first trip, or they become a national. And it's so stinking irritating. They go, well, when I finally just made the decision, and you just want to smack them. And because that means that it's up to us to make a decision. And so anyway, I love that. So thank you for that feedback. And so I want to introduce you to your featured speaker because I'm so stinking excited that you guys get to hear from her. I met Kim when I first came into Mary Kay. She is an offspring of Judy Statz, who raised me initially in Mary Kay. And I love there's so much about Kim that I love, respect, admire, and appreciate the opportunity to be in her space, because you guys, we become like the people we spend the most time with. And if we're with people who are pessimistic, we, without even realizing it, become pessimistic. And Kim is such a possibility thinker. And so, Kim, I'm just going to ask you some quick questions so that you can tell them a little bit about your accolades. How many years have you been in Mary Kay?
31.
And in those 31 years, how many times have you been on the National Court of Sales?
20.
20. And how many times in the top 20 on the National Court of Sales?
3.
Y'all, that is some serious product being sold. And some of that time she was working a full-time job. And so just so impressive. And how many cars have you earned, Kim?
We've earned 12 free cars.
And how many of those pink Cadillacs?
1.
And she is currently driving the very, very beautiful black Equinox, and on her way back into Cadillac. And Kim, if you had to say one thing that has been the most consistent struggle for you in your Mary Kay business, because I think it's all great when we smile and do this and we do that, but I think when people know that we also have challenges and struggles that we still have to work on a daily basis, it first of all lets them know, well, maybe I could do this. She's not perfect, and maybe I could do this. And so, Kim, what would you say is one of the things, despite all those cars, all the unit clubs, all the Court of Sales, top 20, what would you say is one thing that you consistently work on every single day?
I consistently work on, it would be my mind.
And tell us more about that.
Basically, we as women, I think in general, always doubt ourselves. And of course, working with Deb has really brought this out in the fact that we as women are a community. And it doesn't matter what a woman does, whether it's Mary Kay or whether they're a corporate executive, they still have doubts. It's just in our being. And so having to work on that consistently, waking up with affirmations, going to bed with affirmations, having affirmations and goal posters around my home, in my car, hanging out with the right people, like you say, those kind of things are something that I have to work on every single day, because in a heartbeat, you can find yourself mentally not where you want to be. And so that's probably something that I have to work on every day.
Well, and guys, I am sitting at Kim's computer, and she's on her iPad in another room. And I wish you could see the outline of her computer screen. Excuse me. I choose to, I get to, I want to. Success is a conscious choice. 10 calls to book today, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. And that, of course, is Jeremiah 29:11. Where you focus will expand. Where is your focus now? And that is just on her computer screen. If you guys could look around her office, and Gloria Mayfield Banks talks about this, about trash your house. In the guest bathroom, there's stuff on the mirror in the guest bathroom. It's in the refrigerator. It's literally in her car. And so when we quit caring more about what someone else is going to think about things like that, the quicker we're going to move forward. And so one of the things, and Kim, that was a perfect lead-in, one of the things that I want to just kind of pick your brain on, you guys, and challenge you to, and this is actually going to be an assignment, is a finish board. Okay. Now, a finish board is different than a goal poster. Okay. Because a finish board has no tracking on it like a goal poster should have. Okay. And what a finish board encompasses, because today's whole focus is on our goals. A finish board focuses on, what is it going to look like when I finish? What is it going to feel like? How is it going to make those around me feel when I do this? How is it going to impact others? What kind of a difference is that going to create for me? Okay, so a finish board should be all about emotion. And if you can do it in a way that you can have it several places, so maybe you do it on a piece of paper or a small poster board and lots of pictures, a few words, not a lot of words, and then you take a picture of it and you put it as your screensaver on your phone. You print it and put it up all over your house. You have it with you everywhere you go. And so a finish board is all about what kind of emotion is that going to create for me? What's it going to look like? What things is it going to change for me? Okay. And so we're going to come back to the finish board in just a moment. But first, I want you to make a list right now. We'll start a list of the list of your strengths in one column. Okay. And then in the other column, how they will fuel your goal. Your strengths, gifts, talents, and how they will fuel your goal. So for example, make the two headings and then draw a line down the center. And so one of the things that people say to me all the time that, especially when they first meet me, maybe I'm not as fun afterwards, but when people meet me, they'll say things like, you are so happy, you're so engaging, I just love being in your space. Over my 59 years, from the time I was 13 until the present, random people who I've never met before will say things to me like, man, oh man, you are like a ray of sunshine. And so that's always had special significance to me. So for me, when I did this exercise, how can I leverage that towards fueling my goal? Because that is a natural gift and talent for me. All right. And so Kim, what would be an example of something that is a natural gift or talent that you have leveraged for your goals?
Probably would be customer service. My personal talent is, I guess, making people feel important in the fact that they are the reason I have my business. And that has tied people to me. And I think that probably leads back to the consistent sales. That's always been something that's been, I mean, like Queen's Court now is a given on reorders because of the fact that I've established that customer service. And so probably making people feel, helping them to know how important they are to my business.
And, you know, you guys, just yesterday when Kim and I were driving, I believe, to the, to the Thai yoga class, we were talking about customer service, and she handed me her phone, and I got to read this text from a client that had bought something from somebody else, just to help them out. And the huge difference in experience for that client between what she had grown to know with Kim and what that experience was. And she was writing to tell Kim about that and how much she appreciated Kim. And so that is a natural gift and talent. And so helping people to feel important, and Kim is masterful at that. If you ever get the opportunity to be in her space, she truly is masterful of that across all lines. And so how she leverages that is using that with her clients, and she does that with her consultants. And the thing that is so important, and this woman in the text said this, is in essence, because I don't have Kim's phone, I can't read it to you. In essence, she said, it is so obvious that you genuinely care about the client and that you are not just thinking about what your goal is. And, you know, guys, as we are building our teams and our units and building our client base, does it feel like the reason you're doing what you're doing is because you have a goal? Or does it feel like you're doing what you're doing because you genuinely care about that client, that consultant, whatever? And so can you kind of see a correlation between how God wired you and how you can leverage it for your business? And Mary Beth and I actually did this exercise the other day, And I wish you guys could have seen her face because, she was like really intense on our focus call and listening and taking notes. And when we started talking about this, her whole persona changed because we took her from trying to force feed something like, I got to get this many new contacts, every single day. Well, yeah, you do. But how can we do that through your gifts and talents? And y'all, her whole body language changed. Her facial expression changed. This big smile came across her face. And so, Mary Beth, would you just share a little bit about how that went down the other day? I think that would be so beneficial.
Well, I'm one that likes to track, and I want to get the job done, but sometimes it's not comfortable. And I know we need to push ourselves out of our comfort zone, but just seeing a different picture of being able to do that in a way that still is, I guess, easier because I am using the talents or what I'm comfortable doing and getting the job done. So getting new contacts in a comfortable way that I feel good about myself still, and not that it's just a duty that I have to do.
Exactly. And so what was one of the ideas that you came up with as a specific example of leveraging?
Well, what we discussed was giving out the $10 gift certificates that they can redeem on your website. And some of the things that I liked about that is I am giving something to someone. So, and also in return, it made it a little bit easier because quite honestly, they can go onto the website and put all their information in there if they accept the gift card. And I don't even have to ask for their information back.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes that comes naturally and it just works. And then sometimes it doesn't. But I found that to be so much fun because I'd never done anything quite like that. And I've been doing it during the month of June using Rebecca Evans' idea. And how Mary Beth is going to use it is we brainstormed around like what are some medical staff, because she works in the medical field, that but you've never really talked to, or maybe you have a client that works in that office, and how to go into that office and do something special for that client, donuts or cookies or something like that, or a balloon. And then having a little gift for her and having a little something for everybody. And as you're having that conversation with them, finding out if they have a consultant. And if they do, they still get the little goodie. But if they don't, then you can give them that gift card because, of course, we never put out a freebie or a discount to anyone that has a consultant, and we need to be really careful about that. And Mary Beth got so excited about that. Now, is she still going to be warm chattering over here? Absolutely. Is she still going to be playing the referral game at her parties? Absolutely. Is she still going to be booking from her parties? Absolutely. But finding a way to use your gifts and talents to make a difference. And so, Belinda, I'm going to ask you real quick, and so you'll need to unmute. Just what is something that people have said to you in the past that you've heard more than one time about something about you that they love or respect? And I don't want to have to hurt you because I can't even believe you're having to think this thought.
I don't know. I guess to me, it's very self-conscious to even admit it or whatever. They think I guess I'm easygoing. I'm easy to be around, and I guess that's it. That's what I hear the most.
Exactly. And guys, here's the thing, and I know I talked about this before, but it is so important, is that what our gifts and strengths are, many times we take for granted, and we don't think it's really a gift or a talent. It's just who we are, when in fact it's exactly how God made you, and he made you for a reason, and he made you to make a difference for people that he already has lined up for you. And when we're playing small, or when we're scared because maybe somebody said something negative about it one time in the past or something, then, it's just like when you're burning a tiki torch and you put that little cap over the flame and it puts it out. When you're not walking in your strengths and gifts and talents, then that so can happen. And so the first column is a list of your gifts and strengths. Second column is how they will fuel your goal. And then on the back of the page, or if you still have room, there's going to be 2 more columns. what do you anticipate as possible obstacles? What do you anticipate as possible obstacles? And so, Kim, in all the incredible success that you've had in your business, what are some of the obstacles that you've had to anticipate in the past, or maybe that you currently have to purposely plan for so that they don't derail you?
Obstacles. In the past, it's been aging parents, which is interesting, and we're dealing with that a lot in my unit right now with my people. So aging parents, illnesses of spouses, I've gone brain dead on anything else. I think just basically life in general, getting the obstacles of taking care of other people and having interruptions in your life that you are not expecting. So being able to just kind of roll with the punches.
Exactly.
And
that's
the beauty.
Kim does is Kim and Danny travel a great deal. And so knowing, even though we've got that 12-person party today that we're doing together, and we have this call this morning, and we've got some brainstorming time scheduled, Kim and I were blitzing it beyond blitzing before the weekend started, because we knew that was part of that weekly plan sheet. We knew it was that was coming. And that's an example of an obstacle. Going on vacation. Susan Graham, she's on vacation at the beach, and Mary Beth's nodding her head because I've done a coaching call with Susan from the beach. She took her stuff down there so she could do parties. She's done some interviews in and around when her family is doing other things. And not to say you have to do that when you go on vacation, but that's what she chose to do because that's how it works best for her life. And so I love that. So your third column is anticipated obstacles towards your goal. And they can be long-term obstacles or they can be short-term obstacles. And then your fourth and final column is, what is the solution? What is the solution? And so I'm going to give you a concrete example. The phone has, and I don't want to affirm this, but the phone has never been my favorite place. I could tell you hilarious stories about games I've played with myself to get past the phone thing, because obviously, would you guys agree the phone is pretty important in the equation for all of us? Exactly. So if I have to play a cheesy game to have earned 16 cars and blah, 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 I'm okay with that. How do y'all feel about that? Yeah. And so one of the things that I'm doing currently that is working really well for me is when I plan the night before all the calls that I want to make and things like that, if there are any challenging calls on there, maybe it's a team member that, because God loves her, you love her, and that's about as far as it goes. Or it's a client. I had one of those this week that is always so difficult. And it's just like, y'all, being transparent, I can't tell you how many times I wish she would find another consultant. But she also spends a lot of money with me. She was the one who spent $300 and some odd, $304 or something, at the guest event that we had Monday night. And so I put those calls at the top of the hour. I have an alarm that'll go off in my phone because I've planned my day. I know what I'm doing. And I stop the phone calls I'm making, whatever they are, and I'll make one or two of those more challenging calls. Maybe it's to somebody that I really don't think is going to respond well to me, but I absolutely cannot weenie out on the call. And so doing it at the top of the hour is an idea. In the past, and I still use this from time to time, you've heard the story about the pennies and the nickels and dimes. And the pennies, because they're of less value, are those customers that I know love me and they're going to be so excited to hear from me. And the nickels and dimes are the calls that scare me a little bit or intimidate me a little bit and I'm not as excited about making. And I set those out, and maybe it's 5 nickels and dimes and 10 pennies. And when those are done, I'm done. And, you know, you guys, you might, and I'm totally okay if you think that, someone might think, oh my gosh, Jeannie, really? You're a grown woman. I can't believe that you have to play those kind of games, that you just can't suck it up and get it done. Well, you know what? It's a challenge for me that I've learned how to work around. For somebody else, it might be being fun. For somebody else, their challenge might be, you know, it could be anything. For me, it's just the whole phone thing has always been a challenge. But does it give you hope to know that you can build a successful business, as I have, and have a challenge that seems so simple and cheesy? I mean, it's just crazy. And so, Kim, when you were taking care of the two grandmothers and in and around the family illnesses and Danny's illness, her husband has been dealing with a pretty severe chronic illness that has a lifespan of 2 to 7 years. And it's taken him from being someone who is very active, very engaged, to somebody that is in constant pain all the time. And he pushes through, and you would never know it unless you caught him wincing when he didn't think you were looking. And so it's made an adjustment for them. And so, Kim, what are some of the solutions that you have used to overcome those challenges?
Well, it's interesting when you were talking about the pennies and the nickels and the dimes. I remembered when I first came in, one of the things that Judy Stats taught me was to give myself a Coke from Sonic, or what I think hers was a limeade or something, and I'm not a limeade girl. But I would reward myself when I had done what I said I was going to do, which back then was getting 5 new names a day. And so I work really well on the reward system. And of course, travel is now my fun button. That's what keeps me going. As long as I've got a trip on my books, I'll do whatever it takes. And so that pretty much working on the reward system, some type of a reward for myself when I do what I say I'm going to do.
Awesome. And so, guys, can you see how this is such a mindset issue? I doubt there's anybody on this call that what's holding them back is a skill. It's usually the 6 inches between your ears. And so, Kim, I so appreciate you sharing that. So let's review for just a moment. The first column is a list of your strengths, talents, gifts that people say to you, that, you know, you get feedback on it all the time. Okay. The second column is how that gift, talent, or strength can fuel and be leveraged in your business. The third column is anticipated obstacles. And maybe there are obstacles that have tripped you up in the past, and so you're aware of them. But you also think, okay, if when I reach this goal, what am I going to be possible? What could be a possible obstacle, so that you can work on setting your systems up so that you don't run into that. And then the fourth column is what is the specific solution. And guys, that goes back to just being exactly like a weekly plan sheet and then your 6 most important things list. When you know in advance how you can handle something, when it gets you, it doesn't slow you down as much. It allows you, because you've already thought the thought, you're already on top of it. Does that make sense? So now let's go back to the finish board, okay? Because if you are crystal clear on your why, and we've talked about that on this call series, you have got it down. You know exactly why you want this. It's the thing that makes your heart go fast. It's the thing that when you tell people about it and you tell them about your why, that honestly, it creates emotion inside of you. You can feel your heart beating fast, and you create that finish board about what it's going to look like. And for Dick and I, one of the things on my finish board is a bank statement. I actually printed it off the computer. I know most of us just do it all online, but I printed it off the computer, and in big red letters, I put way more than enough. Okay. That there's way more than enough money in there for our retirement. since his retirement was taken. Some of the other things on the finish board is I have a picture of me. Well, I pretend it's me. It's not me, but it's the hand with the hands up and the sun in the background. You guys have seen it. And it's now superimposed on the 50-yard line at Cowboy Stadium, because that's where Seminar is going to be moving to. And if it moves there next year, preferably that's where we will be debuting as a national area. And I'll have all of my best girlfriend directors right there with me on that 50-yard line. And so I have all these women that, because I couldn't make you small enough unless I just used your head, and that looked weird. I have all these pictures of women standing on either side of me on the 50-yard line. And then there's the picture of Cowboy Stadium full of people. And that's easy to find a picture of. And that's part of that finish board. And y'all, it just, I could cry right now just describing it to you. That is what a finish board should do for you. That's, like Kim shared, that traveling is her hot button, and that's what allows her to push through things that are comfortable or uncomfortable, because it makes a difference. And so any questions about your finish board or about any of the 4 columns? Are y'all clear as mud? Okay. And so your challenge is to do your finish board. And I'm going to ask you guys to hold it up next week on the call. Oh, no, I'm not. Not next week. You guys. Okay, now this is honor system, because next week we will not have a call because I will be at a Tony Robbins event walking on hot coals. And so I don't think you really want me to do a recording in that scenario. So I'd like you, by the time we come back together where we get to see each other, I want you to have your finish board done. And guys, I don't want you to think about, oh my gosh, it has to look this way or it has to look that way. The only thing it has to look like is something that makes your heart go fast. Okay, there's no judgment in this, because my finish board wouldn't be the same as Kim's or the same as Beth's or anybody, because what makes my heart go fast may not make theirs. Okay, and remember, it is a work in progress. This finish board, you know, you'll probably make a finish board in 6 months, and you'll look back at that first finish board and go, oh my gosh, you know. And so don't judge, just allow yourself to be in the moment, experiencing the feelings, so that you know for sure you're on track. Does that make sense? Okay, so Kim, before I close us out, when you think about goals in your Mary Kay business and the power of the mind in relation to those goals, is there anything else that you would like to add around that you have found has worked for you, or that you've had to really be cautious about and problem solve around?
I think the main thing that has worked really, really well for me is going to bed with affirmations in my ears, binaural affirmations, waking up with those, and then having them throughout the day.
Exactly, because it keeps your mind where it needs to be. Because you guys, I firmly believe that the mind is a scary place to go unsupervised. And so we have to be so careful that we are fueling with the right stuff, because the world is consistently depositing the wrong stuff. People around you, if you have the TV on and you hear the news, just people who just are going through life will say things to you that they don't mean to be ugly or negative, but they are. And so if you are not willing to take responsibility for fueling your mind, then, you know, you're just opening it up to whatever other people want to give you. And so, Kim, thank you so very much. And I wanted to close this. This is, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. I love this Bible. It is the Leadership Bible by John Maxwell. There is another leadership Bible out there, but and they're both great. This is just my personal favorite because this is done in the NIV. but there are segments that he has written that are specific about leadership in relation to scripture. Okay, those particular scriptures. And so the one I wanted to read to you is courage and risk taking. Okay, and it's based on Numbers 14, 1 through 10. And he's going to give a little scriptural background first. It was one thing when the children of Israel murmured and complained about their provisions and their leadership during the first 2 years in the wilderness. It was far more serious when they decided they could no longer trust the Lord. The tragedy at Kadesh was not caused merely by grumbling, but by outright rebellion against the purposes of God. The Israelites had convinced themselves that their children would be killed if they attempted to take the promised land, and they therefore drew back in disbelief. Ironically, it was their children who later occupied the land under Joshua's leadership. And, there's a little bit more here, but think about how many times our fears that really are not tangible, something scary, bad, this is going to hit me in the face if I do that, how often we allow those fears to impact our choices. And every single time, you guys, we do that, it grows and it gets bigger and it has more power and control over us. And that's a scary thought. He goes on to say, by pursuing a pain avoidance strategy, rather than trusting the Lord, the Israelites actually inflicted far more pain upon themselves. How many of you guys had goals that you missed, that you wished you had hit? Every single one of us. And why are we not there? Was it because Mary Kay and a great company? Nope. Was it because maybe you had too great a leader? Nope. It was the 6 inches between your ears. It was the fear of something or allowing life to get in the way. As a result of their lack of courage, the generation of the Exodus was consigned to an additional 38 years of wilderness wandering until they died and the new generation was ready to take the lead. Does anybody know how long that journey should have taken them? I've heard 11 days and I've heard 14 days. 40 years in the wilderness, you guys, because of the fact that their heart and their minds were not right. Obedience to the precepts and principles of Scripture does in fact require significant risk, because to trust God is to pursue the invisible over the visible. But if we hedge our bets by resisting the prompting of the Spirit and chasing the promises of the world, our growth will be stunted. For we also have had the gospel preached to us just as they did, but the message they heard was of no value to them, because those who heard did not combine it with their faith. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Knowing this, God asks his people to take the step of faith and trust in his presence. God is the ultimate source of empowerment, and he is the eternal source of the godly leader's courage. And so, guys, one of the things, and I found this at this random grocery store, it was this little box, and I wish I brought it down to Kim's to show you. And it kind of looks like if you had a hard box that playing cards were in, that's what it is. And the caption on the outside is, I trust you, Lord. And that is a phrase that I have been using tremendously for about the last week. And then I find that. And so it was so perfect. And each card inside is a different scripture that talks about having trust in the Lord, walking in faith, that he has already made you all you need to be, trusting in him that whatever situation that you're concerned about, trusting him that to give you the wisdom to handle it, and that he will make sure that it comes out the way it needs to, or he will make good from it if we don't listen to him. And so I love that. And so I can't tell you, probably 10 or 15 times a day, I'll find myself going to worry or going to a negative emotion and saying, I trust you, Lord. I trust you, Lord. And y'all, the peace that comes over me when I do that, it allows me to have my brilliant mind in place as opposed to my fearful mind. And so this week, I want you to work on those 4 columns, okay? Really develop them out, and especially those gifts and those strengths. Ask people, what is it that you think is different or special about me? And just see what they say. And then how could those fuel your goal? What are the possible obstacles that you have faced in the past or you might face in the future? And then the 4th column is, what are the solutions to those obstacles? All 4 of those steps are very important. And remember that they are based on a goal that when you think about that goal, it makes your heart go fast. And then you're going to build the finish board. And remember, there's no tracking. There's only a few words on it, if any. It is all pictures that create the emotion around the desired result when you reach your goal. Okay? And so those are your assignments. Remember, we do not have a call next week, but this is your time to be working on that finish board. And I'd love for you, when you finish it, to take a picture of the finish board, or maybe even as the stages that it's in. Take pictures and put it on our Future Victory National Area page so that others can see it that are in this class and will listen to this recording later. And then we're going to physically hold them up and show them at our next call. And if I am on that call by myself, because y'all are being weenies about showing that board, I will hunt you down. Okay, let me just be really clear. And so let us close in prayer. Lord, I just thank you for this new day. I thank you for the energy and the desire and the passion and the commitment in each of these women. And Lord, I thank you for Kim and her willingness after 3 hours of sleep to get up and to invest in each of these women. And Lord, more than anything, I thank you that we can trust you completely and fully because you have already got this all laid out for us. You have already made us more than enough. You have already made us exactly how we need to be made in order to do that which you've called us to do. And so now you're even empowering us to peel away some of the layers that life and the world have deposited on us so that we could stand in that bright light, in that sunshine of your blessings and your abundance and your empowerment to make a difference for the women that you have for us. Lord, we just thank you for all of that. We thank you that every day your mercies are new and that every day that we come to you, that you give us a fresh and clean slate, and that any time we have fallen short in the past is erased from your mind. And so, Lord, we just thank you for who you are and what you mean to us and what you did on the cross. And it is so our desire to bring you honor and praise and glory through our successes. And so, Lord, it is in your name that we offer this prayer. Amen. All right, you guys, the recording will be available on Monday, so you can listen to it again if need be. You can share it with any of your team members that you think it might be a blessing. Kim, thank you again so much, girl. Love you to the moon and back. And guys, I love you. Just think that
Thank you.
in 6 weeks, we will be together at seminar. I can hardly stand it. And so y'all have a great week, and I'll look forward to seeing posts from you about your finished boards. Love you guys. Bye.